After the CMO mocked my PowerPoint as fluff, he stole it and presented it to our biggest client, unaware their CTO was my former mentor. Halfway through his pitch, she messaged me, and what happened next left the entire boardroom stunned. "He's clueless. I'm pulling the $30 million contract. Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" I knew I was watching a corporate car crash in slow motion when Jared, the new CMO with teeth so white they could signal ships, took one look at my quarterly insights deck, sniffed, and said, "This is PowerPoint fluff. Not wrong, not unclear, not needs context. Just fluff." Like 20 years of decoding product market fit, supply chain volatility, and trend modeling was on par with one of those dumb live laugh love slides his wife probably pins to the fridge. He said it in front of the entire team. The analytics crew, my team, people who'd skipped vacations to get that Crichton tech deck airtight. Jared strolled into the conference room in his too tight dress shirt, oozing the confidence of a guy who once will most likely to in some MBA group chat and never let it go. "Don't worry," he said, clapping me on the back like he knew me. "Lead the Crichton Tech presentation. This thing needs vision." He didn't know that Crichton Tech was our firm's crown jewel, a $30 million behemoth with claws in AI procurement, hardware security, and enough legal red tape to strangle a law firm. He didn't know because he never asked. Also, real quick, if you're one of the 97% listening to this and haven't hit subscribe yet, fix that. Helps our team keep these stories coming. And honestly, it makes watching corporate egos implode feel just a little more worth it. Anyway, back to the implosion. I nodded professionally. I said, "Of course, I'll support however I can." And I meant it kind of because that's what you do when someone's holding the matches over the gasoline pile and calling it innovation. "You watch that deck," Jared sneered at. It was the result of 6 weeks of cross-functional collaboration, data modeling from Ashwin in Bangalore, trend overlays from Stacy in Chicago, customer behavior, deep dives pulled from our newest ML pipeline, and I distilled it into a story because that's what strategy is. You don't vomit data and hope it impresses. You weave it into meaning. But to Jared, it was cluttered with caveats and too granular. He wanted big arrows, buzzwords, and fake confidence. His words, not mine. "If we look decisive, they'll follow." He strutted out of that room with the deck USB in his pocket and my entire analytics team staring at me like I'd just been pantsed at a board meeting. Later that day, I got the calendar invite for the Crichton Tech pitch. My role, support visuals only. Translation, make the slides pretty and don't speak unless asked. That stung. Not because of the demotion. I've been in the game long enough to let some things roll off, but because Crichton Tech wasn't just a contract, it was my account. I'd shepherded it from its first awkward pilot project to becoming our most reliable stream of revenue. I'd eaten airport tuna sandwiches for Crichton Tech. I'd hand-walked a VP through a GDPR nightmare at 3 a.m. on a Sunday. Jared didn't know that. Jared didn't care. I overheard him later that evening joking with one of the new hires near the coffee station. Sometimes the old guard needs to be put out to pasture. Makes room for real innovation. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I opened the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, pulled out a notebook with a cracked leather cover, and flipped to a page I hadn't touched in years. The tab read Miranda CC. What Jared didn't realize, what he couldn't have realized was that Crichton Tech's CTO, the one he was so excited to impress, was Miranda Chen. And Miranda was the reason I had a career. She was the first person to teach me that knowing something wasn't enough, you had to communicate it, make it land. She called it strategic translation, and if she smelled nonsense, she'd shut it down harder than a server room fire alarm. So I pulled out my phone, typed one sentence, "Heads up." I wasn't allowed to vet the deck. Expect fluff. I stared at it. Brief. Ambiguous enough to keep plausible deniability. Honest enough to mean everything. Then I hit send and I waited. The email came at 8:07 a.m. the next morning. Subject line, "Client pitch roles finalized, Crichton Tech Q4. Jared had copied the entire executive team because, of course, he did. His message was sugary enough to rot teeth. "Looking forward to a powerful presentation tomorrow. For optimal clarity, I'll be the sole speaker. Her name will assist on slide transitions and design continuity. Please direct all slide edits to her before EOD design continuity." Like I was a Gautam Canva intern, I used to brief Crichton Tech CTO on regulatory impact models. Now I was reduced to glorified button clicker. I didn't reply. Just stared at the screen while my inbox filled with well-meaning pings. "Sorry, this sucks. You good?" "He's a clown." "Good." "No." I was surgical. Calm like a pressure gauge about to blow. At lunch, I sat in the break room, forcing down a chicken wrap that tasted like cardboard dipped in regret. Across the room, Jared was laughing at something. Probably himself. He paced around like a motivational speaker with an invisible mic. I heard snippets. Gotta trim the fat, modernize. Too many cooks in the data kitchen. Then I caught it, clear as the tear in my dignity. Sometimes the old guard needs to be put out to pasture. The intern beside him laughed too hard. Jared slapped his shoulder like a frat brother. I folded my wrap into the trash and walked out. Didn't say a word. In my office, I shut the door and drew the blinds. Sat down, breathed. Then I pulled open the bottom right drawer. The one with the real valuables, not HR paperwork or promo swag, but the things you save when you know you'll need them out. Came the leather notebook edges curled, smelled like time and ink, little water damage from that Denver data center flood in 2014. The gold embossed label read simply Miranda C. Inside pages of handwritten notes back when strategy still happened in conference rooms with whiteboards instead of Slack threads, and emoji approvals, diagrams, market ecosystem charts. Crichton Tech's original pilot rollout plan from 2011 notes in her handwriting. Don't pitch, teach. Confidence is fine, but earn it with clarity. I flipped to a sticky note I'd saved. You're better at this than you know. One day you'll be running the room and they won't even realize it until the contract's already signed. I didn't cry. I almost did, but instead, I pulled out a pen and added a new note beneath hers. They still don't realize it. I spent the rest of the day doing what I do best, cleaning up other people's messes. Jared had loaded the Crichton Tech deck with so much nonsense. I had to rebuild the foundation from scratch. One slide literally said data is the new oil, like it was 2009. Another included a funnel graphic labeled Customer Obsession Zone. I had to resist the urge to add a footnote, also the name of my true crime podcast. But I did my job quietly, thoroughly, because when it all burned down, and I knew it would, I wanted my fingerprints nowhere near the ashes. That evening, I got a Teams ping from Jared. Hey, just looked over the final deck. Nice polish. Remember to leave me presenter view tomorrow. Don't want to fumble on the transitions. I replied with a thumbs up emoji. Nothing else. Let him think I was licking boots. Let him believe I'd been neutered. Because if Jared knew anything about Miranda Chen, he would have known this. She didn't suffer bullshit. And tomorrow, he was bringing a PowerPoint slingshot to a nuclear strategy meeting with my mentor. God help him. The first time I met Miranda Chen, I was 23, fresh out of college, and stupid enough to think pivot tables were a personality trait. She was already a legend by then. CTO of a Fortune 100 company known for firing vendors mid-call if they tried to mansplain latency. I was the new analyst on a cross-functional nightmare project with a name like Next Horizon Synergies, which is corporate for we don't know what this is, but someone already told the board. Everyone was too scared to present our janky prototype, so they shoved me in front of her because I smiled a lot. I fumbled, stuttered, almost said bandwidth penetration when I meant network bottleneck. Then mid-sentence, Miranda raised her hand. Stop. I thought that was it. Career over. Back to living with my sister and her pet iguana. But she leaned in and said, "You're talking like a white paper. What do you actually mean?" I blinked. I mean, if we don't fix the sync issue, it'll crash when more than 10 clients log in at once. Good, she said. Then say that. She took over the whiteboard and had me talk while she drew. Boxes, arrows, cycles. She narrated back to me what I'd been trying to say. It was the first time I understood that being smart wasn't enough. You had to translate, make it land. That day, she gave me her direct number. Next time you're forced to do someone else's job badly, call me, and I did often. Over the next decade, she became my compass. She never gave hugs, never told me I was doing amazing, sweetie, but she trusted me, gave me real work. Let me sit in on contract reviews and watch how she disarmed smug XX with one question. What problem are we solving exactly? We once spent 6 straight hours on a hotel floor in Atlanta. We're working a supply chain integration for a government client. She ordered fries, not salad. She swore like a pirate when data broke. And when I got promoted to lead analyst, she emailed a single line, "Keep your knife sharp. They're not done testing you." I still have that email. Back in the present, staring at Jared's Carnival Fun House of pitch deck, I thought of that night in Atlanta, Miranda scrawling boxes while dipping fries in ketchup, me realizing that strategy wasn't about flash, it was about accuracy and nerve. So I opened my phone. No overthinking, just muscle memory. I typed brace for Fluff. I wasn't allowed to vet the deck. Sent. 3 minutes passed. Then a reply pinged through. Noted. That was it. No emojis. No punctuation. But I could hear her voice in that word. Flat, unreadable, and loaded like a round chambered quietly in a boardroom revolver. I exhaled. The gears were turning, and I was no longer angry. I was ready. Let Jared ride into battle in his shiny LinkedIn armor. Let him hold court with his future state synergies and data as destiny slide. Miranda would smell the BS before he clicked the second bullet point. And when she did, she'd look around that boardroom straight through the smoke and remember who taught me to see through it too. The room was colder than usual. Boardrooms always are, but this one felt surgical. Crichton Tech's HQ was all polished steel and Scandinavian silence, the kind of place where even the air seemed under NDA. Jared loved it. He strutted in 10 minutes early, flashing veneers and handshakes like a discount game show host. "Miranda," he beamed, gripping her hand with both of his legs. She was his college roommate's mom. "So thrilled to be here. Big ideas today. Can't wait to disrupt together." Miranda just blinked at him. "Please sit." I took my seat at the far end of the table, laptop open, fingers poised over the clicker. Supporting role, design continuity. My job was to tap the arrow key every time Jared threw a cue. "All right." He began clapping once. "Let's talk vision." Slide 1, a gradient triangle labeled Innovation Stack 2.0, Jared's baby. Not a single metric on it. Just verbs in circles: accelerate, optimize, transform. Slide 2, a timeline that somehow showed revenue tripling without explaining how. Slide 3, stock images of diverse hands shaking in front of floating charts. I glanced up. Miranda's expression hadn't changed. Still blank. Still controlled. Still watching. Jared launched into a monologue about horizontal disruption vectors and next-gen bandwidth loyalty. It was like watching someone try to win a spelling bee with made-up words. The Crichton Tech CFO scribbled something down. "Probably kill me." Then he got bold. "We believe your current analytics layer is underleveraged. Our internal estimates project a 4x ROI once we inject our proprietary synergy protocols." I nearly dislocated a rib holding in my snort. Miranda adjusted her glasses. "Your projections are based on what dataset?" Jared beamed. "Well, we built an extrapolated model using a blend of sector benchmarks and sentiment index proxies." That was the moment. That was when I saw it. A flicker. The faintest upturn of Miranda's lip, like someone who just caught a child trying to hide a broken vase behind their back. She nodded. "Proceed." And he did. Oh, did he? By the time we hit slide 19, the 5 pillars of partner synergy, Jared was sweating. His upper lip glistened like a glazed ham under studio lighting. The room had turned quiet in that dangerous way, the way a courtroom does when the witness suddenly starts contradicting themselves. I clicked to the next slide, heart like a metronome in my throat, and that's when my laptop pinged. A message, private, from Miranda. "He's clueless. I'm pulling the $30 meters contract. Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" I stared at it for a second. I forgot how to breathe. Then I looked up. Neutral face, neutral hands, neutral heartbeat or close enough. Jared was still talking. Something about aggregated client friction zones. I looked across the table at Miranda. She wasn't even watching him anymore. She was watching me. I tapped the arrow key. Next slide. Jared didn't notice. He was too deep into his own word soup, swimming through nonsense like it was genius. And I sat there in my little corner of the boardroom, silent and still, while vindication bloomed slow and warm like a sunrise behind my ribs. "Lunch tomorrow." Oh, I was free. Jared bounded into the elevator like he'd just secured a billion-dollar acquisition instead of torpedoing a long-standing partnership. "Nailed it," he declared to no one in particular, slapping the brushed metal wall like it owed him a high five. Miranda totally vibed with our vision. Did you see how she nodded at the ROI slide? Dead center bullseye. That's what clarity looks like. He looked at me, eyes gleaming with sweat-slicked victory. "And you?" "Solid clicker work. Very fluid. Nice rhythm." I gave him a small smile. "Thanks." That was it. Not actually, of course. In my head, I was building a 3-tier cake made of every dumb thing he just said. Ready to serve it cold to whoever asked how the meeting really went, but outwardly blank slate, quiet as snowfall. We passed the executive floor. He caught his reflection in the polished paneling, adjusted his collar, grinned like a quarterback after a touchdown pass. "Let's get this baby into post-pitch mode," he said. "Will Lupin brand get legal to fast-track the new terms?" "Big win, my friend. Big damn win." I nodded. "Sure." As the doors opened, peeled off toward my office, he kept walking, already on a call. "Hey, we're green lit. Time to scale this sucker up." I shut the door, sat down, exhaled. 15 minutes later, I got a forwarded email from my friend in procurement at Crichton Tech. Subject line, Emergency Internal Strategy Review, 2 p.m. Attached, Miranda's calendar invite. Top brass only. I smiled. Just a twitch. The kind of grin you allow yourself when the knife hasn't landed yet, but the glint has everyone turning their heads. No message. No reply needed. This was the moment after the trigger's been pulled before the shot echoes. The air still, the blood not yet spilled. I closed the notebook labeled Miranda C and slid it back in the drawer. The next 48 hours would be surgical. Miranda was no wrecking ball. She was a precision-guided missile. She wouldn't storm in, flip tables, and announce a breakup like some LinkedIn drama queen. No. She'd gather her data, call her people, run the models again, and build a perfect case against us. Bulletproof, rational, inevitable, and the best part, Jared wouldn't see it coming. He'd still be high off his own pitch fumes, calling it a slam dunk on Slack, reposting his own slides on LinkedIn with captions like "When strategy meets synergy, light fire" and hashtags nobody respects. I spent the afternoon writing up some documentation, polishing off my quarter-end metrics, and exporting the clean version of our predictive engagement model. The one Jared insisted was too complicated to explain. By the time I left, the building was dim and humming. Jared was still in his office, laughing into his AirPods, pacing like a man waiting for someone to tell him how brilliant he is. He'd wake up tomorrow thinking he was a king. He'd walk into that strategy review like it was a coronation. And Miranda, she'd be sharpening her blade. The restaurant was the kind of place where the waiters wore suits better tailored than most CFOs, and the bread came with its own biography. Soft jazz played somewhere behind a wall of greenery. Everything smelled like lemon oil, ambition, and freshly signed NDAs. Miranda was already there, sitting in a sunlit booth by the window, swirling a glass of something French and expensive. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just tilted her chin slightly, the Miranda equivalent of a bear hug. I slid into the seat across from her and barely got my coat off before she said, "You're wasted where you are." "Good afternoon to you too," I replied, cracking a smile. She sipped her wine. "He actually said synergy protocols out loud. Like, he thinks that's a thing. You know what I heard during that pitch?" "What?" "Nothing. That was the problem." She set her glass down. "I heard nothing. No strategy. No awareness. No respect for the client's intelligence. It was like being sold a new religion by a man who didn't believe in gods." The waiter came. She ordered steak, rare. I followed her lead. She pulled out a sleek black folder and laid it flat between us. "We're rebuilding," she said, "top to bottom. Our digital architecture's bloated. Our roadmap's fuzzy. I need someone who can translate complexity into clarity and who knows where the bodies are buried." I opened the folder inside an org chart, an implementation timeline, and a contract. It had my name on it, triple my current salary, executive title, direct report to Miranda. No sales pitch. No begging. Just precision. I blinked. "You already wrote the contract?" She nodded. "I assumed you'd say yes. And if I didn't, then I'd be questioning your intelligence." I laughed. Genuinely. God. I missed that. Not just the sharpness, but the respect. The way she treated knowledge like currency instead of decoration. I closed the folder. "This is big." She leaned back. "Bigger if you don't come alone." That pulled me up short. I raised an eyebrow. "I've seen your team's output," she said, "and I've seen what Jared did to it. The good ones will follow you. You trained them. You protected them. Hell, I bet you still bring them snacks when they work late." "Sometimes it's burritos," I said deadpan. "I like burritos," she said, "but I love loyalty. I want your brain, but I also want your gravitational pull. Poacher you need. Just keep it quiet." I took another sip of wine, swirled it once the way I'd seen her do. "Give me a week." She smiled then. A real one. Small, deadly. We didn't toast. We didn't shake hands. We just sat there. Two women who'd survived the corporate trenches quietly planning a coup over filet mignon and structured ambition. Outside, the sun cut hard shadows through the glass. Inside, I began writing names in my head. People who deserved better. People who were tired of being told their fluency in data was too granular. People who knew how to make complexity sing. Miranda took out her phone, typed something, and slid it toward me. It was a Slack message Jared had posted not 30 minutes ago. "Croydon Tech is eating out of our hand. Next stop, Q1 expansion, baby, #synergize to F#CM. Ali Fi snorted. "He's not going to know what hit him." "No," Miranda said, reclaiming her phone, "but he'll feel it, and by then, he'll already be irrelevant." I folded the contract, tucked it into my bag, and finished my wine. It tasted like leverage. I submitted my resignation on a Wednesday morning at 7:12 a.m. No drama, no teary farewells. Just a plain email with a subject line that read "Formal notice, resignation effective immediately." The body was 6 sentences long. I thanked them for the opportunity. I noted my appreciation for the team. I listed no reason. I offered no forwarding address. I didn't see Jared. I walked into the office 15 minutes later like it was any other day. Smiled at the receptionist. Tapped my badge. Dropped my laptop badge. The neatly labeled USB stick onto HR's desk. "My files are clean," I said. "Everything's backed up on SharePoint." She blinked. "Oh, okay." I left before the rest of the floor filled in. No desk cleanout. No coffee farewell. No corporate eulogy in Slack with emojis and platitudes about next chapters. By noon, I was a ghost. That night, I texted 2 people, Sasha and Ally. Sasha had been with me since the early pilot days at Crichton Tech. She could wrangle a day or set like it owed her money and had a gift for making charts feel like storytelling instead of punishment. Ally was newer but brilliant, quiet, precise, the kind of mind that found patterns where others saw chaos. The message was simple. I'm out. Crichton Tech's in play. If you want something cleaner, sharper, and worth your time, let's talk. NDA required. By Friday morning, both of their resignations hit HR. No overlap in phrasing. No drama. Just two of the firm's top analysts vanishing into the mist. Jared didn't notice until someone from the finance team pinged him asking why the Q4 forecast modeling was missing critical components. His reply, leaked to me by a friend still inside, was classic Jared. It's all under control. These transitions happen. Forecasting will resume shortly. Sure it would. By whom? The summer intern who still thought SQL was an allergy test. I didn't gloat. Not outwardly. I didn't post a cryptic quote on LinkedIn or reflect on my journey. I didn't signal anything. But inside, I let the satisfaction settle low and slow like bourbon heat. The kind of triumph that doesn't dance. It waits. Back at my apartment, I had the contract signed and couriered to Miranda's office by noon. The return envelope was already on my desk with Crichton Tech seal. I went for a walk downtown. No particular direction. Just long strides in cold air and the quiet of machine I'd spent 20 years building finally beginning to collapse under its own arrogance. At some point during the day, Jared posted a selfie to LinkedIn him at the office, sleeves rolled, whiteboard behind him full of buzzwords in red marker caption. Sometimes the best way to forecast the future is to create it. #leadership, #data-driven, #vision. 2025. The comments were full of the usual suspects. Fire, fire. Speak it into existence, King. Love the grind. I saved the post to my phone. Not because I needed proof, because one day when someone asked me what hubris looked like, I wanted to show them that. Controlled burn. Let the office stay quiet. Let the questions pile up. Let him scramble to fill holes he didn't even know existed because the detonation had already happened. He just hadn't seen the smoke yet. It started with a calendar nuke. Every exec at the firm got the same invite at 8:03 a.m. sharp. Subject line, Emergency Crichton Tech Contract Termination Debrief. No agenda. No explanation. Just that all hands needed to be in conference room by 9 o'clock. Mandatory. The CMO showed up 10 minutes late. Ty Askew. Lips pressed into that awkward almost smile people wear when they think they can charm their way through a car crash. By then, the room was ice. The CEO sat at the head of the table, jaw tight enough to crack molars. Legal was there. Finance, even HR. That only happened when someone was about to get eviscerated with plausible deniability. Jared shuffled to his seat. All right, what's then? The CEO cut him off with a single sheet of paper on it. Crichton Tech's formal termination notice. Effective immediately, Crichton Tech is ending all contractual engagements with your firm. We no longer believe your team aligns with our strategic direction. Any future collaboration is off the table. There was no thank you. No regretfully. It was cleaner than a guillotine blade. Jared blinked. This must be a misunderstanding. We just had a phenomenal meeting with them. The same meeting where you pitched ROI from an extrapolative model built on sentiment indexes and LinkedIn polls? The CFO snapped. Someone at the table snorted. Jared's eyes darted to the corner. I followed the numbers, he began. What numbers? The CEO growled. We've lost $30 million. That account was half our Q1 growth projection. They didn't even ask to renegotiate. They cut us off like we were a phishing scam. Jared tried to speak. His voice cracked. They must have misinterpreted. I had full confidence in our deck. The CEO turned to the legal team. Were we notified before the termination? No, said a woman with the posture of a firing squad. The letter came directly from Miranda Chan's office. No room for negotiation. The room went still again. Then the CEO said, You've got 5 minutes. Explain how this happened. Jared looked down at his laptop like it might whisper him an answer. Clicked. Open folders, more clicking. Then a ping, Slack, a new message from someone who no longer worked there. Read this first. He clicked it. It was a PDF. My original report, the one he called PowerPoint Fluff, time-stamped, annotated, the real projections, risk flags, contractual vulnerabilities, strategic pivots tailored to create on Tech's roadmap. It had everything. It also had his initials and track comments rejecting half the suggestions. One note he left on slide 12, too nuanced, needs more punch. Another, this section's too academic, trim for impact. And then my final comment at the bottom, proceeding with your version as requested, attaching original here for your records. He stared at it for 5 full seconds before realizing every eye in the room was watching him read it. The CEO stood. So let me get this straight. he said slowly. You ignored our lead strategist. You removed her from the pitch. You rewrote her material into LinkedIn bait, and now we've lost our biggest client. Jared opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. Nothing. There was no defense, just the of a laptop fan, the rustle of someone scribbling on a legal pad. Finally, the CEO said leave the room, but leave the room. Jared rose, paler than paper, sweating through silk. He grabbed his laptop, but no one looked at him. And as he shuffled out, I hope he wondered how it all crumbled so fast. The truth? It didn't. It crumbled slow. It started the moment he dismissed what he didn't understand. And by the time the implosion came, I wasn't even there to see it because the avalanche doesn't need the mountain to watch it fall. They never held a goodbye party. No email blast. No HR-mandated cupcake drop. No moving on to new adventures post with awkward group photos and fake warmth. On Monday morning, Jared's name disappeared from the org chart. By noon, someone in finance leaked that he'd been transitioned out for strategic misalignment. And just like that, the man who once called himself the future of the brand became a ghost. The board never mentioned him again. Not once. Not even in code. It was as if the CMO role had always been vacant. But the internet remembered. Because somehow, and I truly have no idea how, Scouts honor his Crichton Tech pitch deck leaked onto a B2B satire blog, the one that ranks bad corporate jargon like baseball stats. Slide captions were highlighted in neon with comments like Synergy Protocols. Is this a pitch or a Marvel villain origin story? If buzzwords could vomit, this deck would be the aftermath. Within 48 hours, the firm's stock dipped 4%. Not catastrophic, but enough to sting. I heard through the grapevine that the new interim CMO is someone from internal compliance. Bless their soul. Legal's still working to untangle whatever non-compete spaghetti Jared left in his wake. Meanwhile, I was sitting in a soundproof glass conference room at Crichton Tech HQ, whiteboard behind me, espresso in hand, watching a team of 20 strategists discuss my initiative down to the KPIs I used to defend tooth and nail while Jared insisted we simplify the narrative. Now we were implementing it on my timeline with Miranda's full backing. Across the table, Sasha was sketching out a data pipeline overhaul while he was debugging a prototype from the hotel lobby. Every person in that room wanted to be there. Not because they were loyal to me, but because they were loyal to the work. I approved the first phase rollout with a signature and slid the binder across the table. Miranda leaned over, gently tapped her espresso cup against mine, and murmured just loud enough for only me to hear, "Best fluff I ever invested in." We didn't laugh. We didn't need to. Outside, the sun was setting. Somewhere back at my old firm, Jared's nameplate was probably gathering dust in a desk drawer HR didn't know what to do with, and me. I was exactly where I was always meant to be.